Hi, I'm Greg Adamore, the real estate coach and the host of Experts of Southern Nevada. Today I have a very special guest, Mr. Jon Carpenter, to join us, and I've been looking forward to having you come on the show for a while. I know you've been traveling and getting around and doing seminars and public speaking. I know you're a keynote speaker and about real estate and business and an author. And I just want to introduce a fine gentleman to you, Mr. Jon Carpenter. Welcome aboard.
Well, thanks, Greg. I'm honored and blessed to be with you today.
Oh, thank you so much. A little bit about your education. I know that you said you were from South London.
Yes, I was born in Wimbledon.
Oh, Wimbledon.
And Wimbledon, there are 23 boroughs that make up London.
Uh-huh.
And the largest borough is called Merton and Morden, which Wimbledon resides in, which is southwest London. And it's about 10 miles southwest of Marble Arch, which is the centre of London.
Oh.
And I was born, raised and schooled there.
And so your education is primarily from London? And
yes, indeed,
there?
yeah. We've got a slightly different system of education in England, where back in the day, during my time, you took an exam when you were 11 years old, and it basically separated the kids between the advanced and everybody else. And it was designed that about 16% would pass this exam, and they would be given a choice to go to what was called a grammar school, which was a higher education school. And everybody else, the remaining 84%, went to a comprehensive school. Now, of the 16%, those that had a very high pass mark were able to choose any school. And so the schools that you're probably familiar with here in the States, such as Harrow, Eton, Rugby, they're called public schools. And you pay to go to those schools, and you can actually board there if you want to. And my pass mark was such that I qualified for that. So I was given a choice if I wanted to go to Harrow or Eton, but I didn't want to live away from home. So I did the next best thing. I took what I considered to be the best grammar school in the area of Wimbledon, and that's where I was educated.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
So I got to stay home with Mum and Dad every night.
Oh, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Home cooking is good, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I love your accent. It's just charming and it's pleasant and refreshing. I know I attended one of your seminars through Chicago Title and really learned a lot. And I attend a lot of seminars, so I was really blessed. And at that time, I think I approached you right away saying I'd like you to have you on the show. Well, that was a couple months ago. So.
True. I'm very happy to be here. Sorry it's taken so long.
I don't know, but good things are worth waiting for. I understand you've created some business creations, or you've got some new ideas, and can you comment on some of the things that you're excited about?
Well, when I came to the States back in 1977, it was a bit like that Tom Hanks movie when he was stuck in the airport.
Oh, yeah.
Because I left England, I came to the United States, but they wouldn't process my immigration. Because at the time, they weren't allowing UK immigrants. If you came from Korea or Vietnam, you got immediate access. But England, or actually Great Britain, had denied access to US immigration, and so the US retaliated. So I got stuck. I couldn't go home. I wasn't really allowed to be here. It was a crazy situation. So my attorney said, John, the way you can do it legally is you form a business, which is exactly what I did. I formed a telecom company. He said you have to hire people, which we did, and within 18 months we had 61 employees, and we had this flourishing telecom company. And I sold that in '81, seeing the writing on the wall about the deregulation of AT&T, the divestiture. And then I got involved with the media business for several years. I owned a small TV station in Los Angeles, a Hollywood film production company, and then I went into corporate turnarounds. And upon doing several, mainly in the automotive field with General Motors, Chrysler, I helped launch Lexus. That brought me to Vegas. But during my media days, I had a problem because I had a small TV station in Los Angeles, and it was difficult to sell the advertising against the networks. And it was just before cable. And there I was, knocking on doors on Madison Avenue. No one would accept the meeting. And I came up with the idea for the infomercial. So I created the infomercial. I produced the first two on my TV station. And it was two words put together: information, commercial. And I merged them together, and that's how the infomercial was born.
You remember what
the first two were done on real estate.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. In those days, there was no TV program for either cars or real estate. And the market was a little bit go-go in those days. It was Los Angeles, around 84, 85. And I said that would be probably the best industry attack for an infomercial. So we produced two. They were very, very successful. In fact, the person that I used as the announcer or the host for that show was the wife of a very famous celebrity in Hollywood at the time. And it got rave reviews. But unfortunately, I had such a tough time selling infomercials. The media industry just didn't get it. This was before cable, or before cable really jumped out there, which was 1987. And it's a bit like selling the watch in 1716. No one got it. This thing on your wrist.
And now look how huge it is. Wow.
Exactly. And then Tony Robbins took the infomercial to basically brand himself into the sales seminar business, and actually took some of my ideas out of my seminar business to run with. And he stole from just about everybody and repackaged it. And the second one that was done was Ginsu Knives. And it was only 2 minutes, and Ginsu Knives literally vaulted up from doing an infomercial.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's good. The media, communications. I understand you write books. You wrote some books on spiritual motivation.
Yes, in fact, I've got one in front of me right now. It's called, let me just give a little plug. It's called The Answer, which I wrote back in 2003. And it is a book about spiritual motivation. The difference being that I used to teach motivation, which is more of the rah-rah routine. You get out, set a goal, think big, hit the pavement, you will be successful. Well, that doesn't work. And what does work is the influence from within, not the influence from without. And other people telling you what to do, get out there, hit the pavement, it doesn't work. So you've got to go to the power within, and that's called spiritual motivation. And you've got to obviously overcome the obstacles of life. And we all have these challenges, which is terribly difficult on a daily basis to overcome. So this book actually teaches people how to overcome those obstacles, that there is a light ahead. Just follow that tunnel, believe in yourself, go to the power within, the power without, as I say, connect those two, and you will be successful.
It's about helping people at the end of the day, right?
It's always about helping people.
Empowering and helping people.
And that's what life is really about. And we've come away from that over the last 50 years, where everyone's trying to be greedy and enrich themselves accordingly. We're here to serve each other. Everyone has to serve someone.
That's so true.
And if we serve mankind properly, we will become successful. And we don't have to tread on other people to do that.
That's right. That's right.
It's the basis of communion.
Oh yeah, community is.
It is.
And I guess you've been married to your wife for what, over 30 years?
Yeah, we just celebrated our 30th birthday this year. Our 30th anniversary. I just had a birthday as well.
Yeah, that too, huh?
Yeah, really.
That's kind of a birth too, where you find someone's your soulmate, someone you can grow and help you through the ups and downs and the difficulties. And it's a beautiful thing, you know. And I understand you've also overcome, or at least had battles, a couple of chronic illnesses too, but you look great. How are you doing?
Well, thank you very much. But just going back to that 30 years of marriage, people ask me, how have you stayed married for 30 years? It's successful. We live apart for 11.5 months of the year.
Oh, you're
no. Actually, I escape every year. My wife comes and finds me, brings me back and says, 4 more years, 4 more years, which is where Obama got that slogan, 4 more years, 4 more years, right?
You got it from your wife?
You got it from my wife.
One of your successful marriage.
Yeah. No, I chose wisely, very wisely. But yeah, I've got some battles. I've got 2 chronic diseases. I've got Graves' disease, and I've got diabetes type 2. And they're both very challenging, because Graves' disease, I've got the fatal version. And I went through some pretty bad times over the last 20 years, but they got me on this very powerful drug, which I take every day. And as long as I take the drug and don't get marooned on an island somewhere, I'll be okay. And the diabetes too is a challenge every day, in that you've got to watch what you eat. And unfortunately, it's a major problem here in the United States, because they reckon that within a few years, 30% of the population will have diabetes because of our addiction to carbs. And so, as a diabetic, I have to look at every label. I've got to check the intake of carbs for every meal, every hour. And if you are intelligent about it, then you can control this disease. If you're not intelligent, the disease will control you, and at some point something bad will happen, such as renal failure, amputation, blindness. It's a very, very bad disease.
We've got some relatives that are very near and dear to my heart, and they may be facing an amputation or problems because of diabetics. And basically our health. When a lot of people, until they actually have to cope with these type of difficult illnesses, sometimes sometimes they don't realize how blessed they are just by the absence of those afflictions. So.
Well, God came in my life with this particular disease. Well, He comes in all the time, but He came in on this disease at the right time, because when they found I had diabetes, my number was off the charts. In fact, the doctor said I should have been dead with my BGI number, my blood glucose number. And so I looked at him and he said, the only answer I can give you, John, is that you must have spiked to that number recently, because if you've been at that number for longer than about 2 weeks, you would have gone into a comatose state, you would have been dead. So I can only suspect that you got there recently. He said, but I'm going to have to crash you down real quick. So they put me on a very severe diet. And over the period of the ensuing 12 weeks, I got the number down by about 60%. It still wasn't anywhere close to being good, but I got off the danger zone. And then he worked on me for the next 3 months to get me down to a more regular number.
That's excellent. And I think when we deal with health issues, it's kind of a microcosm of what we deal with in our society. I mean, it's also the economics of, like you said, how much glucose, how much carbohydrates. We basically have to manage our life, get a strategy for the life. And tomorrow we're getting up bright and early, me and a few friends. I attend Joe Gibbs. He's going to have a strategy for your life at the Orleans at 7 in the morning having a breakfast. So a lot of people come to get motivation, leadership. And I know you get called in to speak a lot about the economy. In general, you have council and people in Washington. And I'd see what is your view? What do you think our economy is going to be, say, in a few years to come, 3 to 5 years? Where do you see we're going, up, down, or are we going to be affected by Europe? What's going on in the big picture? People want to know.
That's probably the most important question right now. Our economy is still a train wreck. Regardless of the numbers that Washington is giving us right now, I don't believe those numbers. For example, the unemployment number is supposedly at 7.5%. Well, there are two unemployment numbers. One is a U3, which is the number that they promote and promulgate through the media. And then there's the U6. And the U6 is the true number. And that contains everyone that's unemployed or underemployed. And the U3 at 7.5 correlated to the U6, which is probably closer to 18%. Now, if our total labor pool is 157 million, it means that we've got around 28 million economic walking dead out there that are unemployed or don't have sufficient employment for their lives. This is a bad situation. Yet the government, through the media, tells us how things are improving. Life's getting better. We're over the hump. We're not over the hump. It's very difficult, as you know, being in the real estate business, to buy a house right now, to qualify for a mortgage. You need a fantastic FICO score, and you basically need the planets to line up in order to get a mortgage.
Exactly.
So the economy, as I see it right now, is very, very bad. As far as Europe, well, they're much worse than us, and we follow them. And you've heard about the Cyprus and the Portugals and Spain and Italy's. But the northern countries too are very bad. Where I'm from, United Kingdom, France, Holland, Austria, very, very bad. Germany's got problems, although they put them up as the poster child of Europe. They've still got problems. There's only one nation in Europe that is secure, and that's Norway, because they've got those vast oil reserves in the North Sea, and they're doing spectacularly well. But they've only got a population of about 7 million. The rest of Europe is suffering tremendously. It's going to take decades for them to recover. For us, we've got these huge national deficits, annual deficits, $1 trillion plus every year, which is adding to the national debt. We can't keep doing this because we're adding interest on the compounding debt every year. And at some point, I've worked out, in 15 years, our total income from taxation, personal and corporate, will be our interest payment on our debt, which is a very bad place to be. So unless we can figure out a solution, we've got some major problems coming up. And all they're doing right now is kicking the can down the street because no one wants to make those tough decisions. And frankly, I can't see how we go forward without increased taxation coming out of Washington, which I don't think is a good idea. But they're going to apply it somehow. And Obamacare, in a way, is a form of taxation, whichever way you look at it. And I'm certainly not in favor of Obamacare for multiple reasons, but that's a discussion for another day, because that'll take up about 20 hours, right? No, sure. But the economy is not good. It's not good at all. And I tell people, do not believe the media. Do not believe the announcements out of Washington.
Not over yet. No.
We're a long way away.
Yeah. Do you see China pumping money into the United States still? Is that going to be sustained, or is China involved in the global scene there?
China needs us desperately because we are a major market for their products. And if you look at the development of China over the last 30 years, they created this enormous manufacturing base where they employed somewhere around 200 million people, maybe more, just in manufacturing. It's been from that manufacturing that they've secured their economy. And their economy's been growing because of that. And if they lose a market like the United States, or it lessens in value, which it has done over the last couple of years, it hurts China. And China has been laying off vast numbers of employees over the last couple of years. They've been shuttering factories, which is not discussed in the media. They've got their challenges too. However, they do have surplus cash. We need cash because we have a deficit. So we need each other. It's a symbiotic relationship. So will they keep pumping money into us? Yes, they will. They'll have to. They've got no choice.
Drawing our focus from the global, say, to the local, like in Las Vegas, where do you see Las Vegas in 2013, 2014?
Well, for real estate, we were the worst of the worst. Okay, we were peak to trough in pricing. And if you take the height of the market, which was August 2006, we collapsed by just under 63% in price. I mean, it was a free fall. Okay, so we came down. The rest of the nation, peak to trough, came down about 33, 34%. So we went way lower than anybody else, but we've been jumping up by ridiculous amounts every year, 25%, 37%. And when the CPI indexing was only increasing 3% a year for salaries, and real estate was going up 50%, 25%, something was not going properly, right? And so we crashed. So what's happened over the last 10 months or so, our market's gone up 15% here, which is good news. But it's a small dent in the collapse that we suffered over the preceding 5 years. We'll probably go up 12% this year, okay, which is still a nice measure, but it doesn't get us back to where we need to be. Okay, so I think that this year will be 12%, but we may see some flattening out because the buyers of late have been the big guys coming in, such as Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, Colony America, who've been buying hundreds of homes here in Las Vegas, basically pushing the individual investor away. But at 150,000, that seems to be the ceiling of their interest, because at 150,000 and 1250 for rent, they can. It's the last point where they can secure an 8% yield, okay, return on their money. That's what they're interested in, because these private equity firms, they've got to make at least 8% for their customers, their clients. So after 150, once it goes above that, which we will be probably by the end of the year, the interest in the big guys go away. Question is, will the individuals be able to qualify for a mortgage under the very stringent qualifications that we have now from the banks? I heard recently that the average FICO score for qualification in Las Vegas is 724. That's ridiculously high. Especially when most people are hurting economically. So although the interest rates are low, it's very difficult to qualify for a mortgage. So unless we have this incredible surge of opportunity where the big investors get out of the way, the mortgage qualifications come down, I don't see us going up much in 2014 in terms of equity appreciation. We'll get 12% of this year, I can pretty much guarantee that. But next year, I think we're going to begin to flatten out.
Do you see the interest rates remaining at the levels they are now? Or
yeah, I do actually. I do, because right now there are not that vast number of homes going through. And I think if they stuck the interest rates up 50 basis points, 0.5%, I think they'd have trouble finding people to buy homes at that point, because homesteads are pretty much stressed out with economics at this time.
Do you think the banks may lessen the qualification guidelines a little bit to get more people access to homes in the future?
Hopefully so. I mean, they've gone from basically funding anybody that can breathe and show condensation on a mirror when they're breathing.
And a pulse, you got a loan.
To we'll only allow Bill Gates and Warren Buffett to buy a house, which is utterly ridiculous. So are they going to lessen? Yes, they will. They will. By how much, I'm not sure. But what they wanted to do was wheedle out the really bad guys from seeking a mortgage, and they pushed the needle so far to the right from the left that they've actually damaged the market. So they have to bring the needle more to the center in order to allow the average American to buy a home. And if you look here, our average median price is hovering around, what, 142, 143 right now, which is pretty good compared to what it was.
Sure.
It was 305,000 back in August of 2006.
Yes, yeah.
And the interest rate back then was about 7%.
Mm-hmm.
And compared to today,
Mm-hmm.
if you 3.5% on 150,
Mm-hmm.
that's a third in your mortgage premium a year per month, per year.
Wow.
So the opportunities there, the banks have to loosen. They've got no choice. They have to loosen.
Right.
Okay? And they're trying to correct the problem that they created in the first place.
Sure.
So we've gone through this hellacious period
Mm-hmm.
over the last few years. And a lot of people have gone into foreclosure. They've been forced to do a short sale.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a very negative environment. But I feel very strongly about this. I don't think. I feel very strongly that they will lessen the qualifications over the next 9 months.
I see. And maybe comment a little bit about the Mortgage Debt Forgiveness Act. It's due to expire December 31st of 2013. A lot of people are holding out hope they're going to extend that again, but I think you have some views on
3 weeks ago, I would have said there was absolutely no hope of that happening.
Mm.
In fact, there have been more chances of watching pink pigs fly over Wall Street on a Friday afternoon. That was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But since then, we've had the mess with AP, we've had the IRS situation, and we've had Benghazi attack blowing up.
Sure.
Obama needs to show his people that he loves them.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
I now feel that it's not going to be 100% terminated at the end of the year, like I was 3 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there is enough indication that if Washington can't give the public some good news between now and October, I think Congress will move to extend the Mortgage Debt Relief Act for 1 more year.
That's encouraging.
It's very encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
And you would not have heard me say that
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks ago or before. In fact, for this whole year,
Mm-hmm.
I was saying, that's it, the Mortgage Debt Relief Act will not be extended
Right.
because the government needs to secure incremental income from taxation, which they secure from debt forgiveness,
Sure.
right, based upon your current tax rate.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of bad things happening with the U.S. government right now. I mean, a lot of mistakes that they've made, the Benghazi attack and AP.
And this
So-
IRS thing is really hitting the media hard with they targeted the Tea Party, the Republicans. If, let's say this Mortgage Debt Forgiveness Act isn't extended, do you foresee people still trying to do short sales? Or?
I do, and for one given reason. If your choice is short sale or foreclosure, it's a foregone conclusion what you've got to decide, short sale, because the difference between short sale and foreclosure is that foreclosure denies you having a mortgage for 6 to 10 years.
Wow.
So if you foreclose on one property, the moratorium is 6 years that you can't have a mortgage. If you foreclose more than 2 properties, it's 10 years. Now, with a short sale, you can actually get a mortgage after 2 years and 1 day if you've got extenuating circumstances. So let's say you and your family today, Greg, were to conduct a short sale, have it approved.
Yeah.
2 years tomorrow, you can actually go out for a mortgage because if you've got extenuating circumstances which premeditated your short sale situation through hardship, the banks legally can offer you a mortgage in 2 years and 1 day.
That's excellent.
If you had no extenuating circumstances, none at all, and most people do if their hardship letter is written properly, then they would have to wait 4 years and 1 day. Now, I've been asked a question recently by a large number of people, is the Federal Reserve going to change and relax what they've done to foreclosees? Will they relax the 6 to 10 year moratorium down to 2 to 3 years? Will they relax what they do with short sale people? My answer is yes. Once they've got a complete handle on the economy, I believe they will lessen it. So I think anyone doing a short sale this year may be able to look forward. I'll go as far as to say everyone that does a short sale, with or without extenuating circumstances, will be able to do a new mortgage in 2 years and 1 day.
Well, that's encouraging. That's
Very encouraging. Yeah.
I know you are an expert in the area of short sale consultations and a teacher and author on the subjects. And as time would have it, we probably would love to have you come back as a guest and talk some about what the considerations are for short sales and what repercussions they may have, what things are taken into consideration, and talk a little bit about strategic short sales. Obviously, there are people who are financial in situations that are both financial hardships and also have non-financial hardship. So you said one of the buzzwords, when you said hardship letter, I think doesn't it all begin with a hardship letter? Is that the number one thing that the banks have to consider?
Typically, yeah. There are two types of short sale consideration. There is your conventional short sale consideration where you've got a hardship that you can prove. And there is something called a strategic default where you really don't have a hardship and you have sufficient income to pay your mortgage and you have no threats on your lifestyle, but you can still get a mortgage renegotiated as a short sale.
Excellent.
But you have to know how to do it. And if you don't do it properly, you won't get it.
It's like surgery. If you do it properly,
exactly.
You have a great deliverance. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming, and I would love to invite you back next week to talk more in detail about the proper way of doing both strategic and non-strategic short sales, so our homeowners will know what they're getting into, and also for some of the real estate practitioners like myself. It's always a pleasure to have you, and I want to thank Jon Carpenter for being our guest today, and hopefully you can come back next week and enlighten us a little bit more on this fascinating subject that's really affecting our community more probably than most people in the United States. So again, I'm Greg Adamore. I'm your real estate coach. We invite you here every Tuesday at 5 o'clock to get answers, get information, and contacts like Jon. And if you'd be kind enough to share your email address and maybe a phone number if our guests wanted to get some consultation. Or
Indeed, you can reach me at 247-6000, 247-6000. And my email address is, it's a very easy one, John at cox.net. Jon@cox.net.
Excellent. Thank you. I know you've been a wonderful help and a great resource to our community.
Thank you for having me, Greg. It's been a pleasure being here.
You promise you come back next week?
I'd love to come back next week.
Thank you so much. Thanks for viewing. We'll see you next Tuesday at 5 o'clock on Experts of Southern Nevada.